Alright guys, so in today's video we're going to be doing something just a little bit different than normal. Well, maybe not. It's kind of the same format that I do usually, but instead we're going to be talking about a few more topics at one time than we normally do. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because things as of right now are a little bit slower. There's not a whole lot going on. We're kind of in the middle of summer at this point, so this is the time when things are just, quieter than they normally are. And so there were some interesting pieces of information that came out that are PlayStation related that I thought was certainly worth making a video on, maybe taking a few minutes with each topic to go over them a little bit. I think there's some stuff here you guys will certainly find interesting, and I still wanted to find a way to create some somewhat meaningful content for you guys. But starting off here, we're going to be talking about Gran Turismo and how it seems that Polyphony Digital is already working on a Gran Turismo title that sounds like it's going to be their biggest and best yet, and maybe there's a chance they're going to try to have it ready for the launch of the PlayStation 5. So it says here, we wouldn't be surprised to see Gran Turismo 7 launch alongside the PlayStation 5 next holiday, and series creator Kazunori Yamauchi, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly, has hinted that work on the next iteration in the simulation racing franchise is already underway. Speaking with GT Planet, he explained that he feels PlayStation 4 title Gran Turismo Sport has the best physics in the property's history, and that he's also proud of the innovative sport multiplayer structure, but the latest game was obviously dinged for its lack of multiplayer or single-player content, and according to the motorsport maestro, he wants the next edition of the series to be a culmination of all of Polyphony Digital's efforts to date. I think the next title that we're going to create will be a combination of the past, present, and future, a complete form of Gran Turismo, he said. It makes sense, the online GT sport is excellent, but there's room to build a more traditional campaign around it. Considering that all of the content in the current game has been future-proofed, there's a chance that the Japanese developer may be able to turn around a PS5 title near to launch. We've already seen what GT Sport could look like running in 8K at 120 frames per second after all. Even better, Yamauchi is a big believer in the power of PlayStation VR and reckons that the additional horsepower of a next-generation console will allow Polyphony Digital to push the fledgling technology even further. So yeah, this is interesting to talk about for me because I honestly have never played Gran Turismo. Maybe that's surprising to some people. I've never really been a racing game fan until recently when I actually played Forza Horizon 4, and I really enjoyed it. And I don't know what the differences between the two games are. I heard that maybe Forza Horizon is definitely leaning more on the arcadey side of things compared to, Gran Turismo being a little bit more sim-like, a little bit more realistic. But it is interesting to hear that they're already working on the next title, and they want it to be apparently the biggest and best title that they've made so far. I mean, it just makes sense. It also makes sense that this is a game that Sony would 100% want to have ready to show off alongside the PlayStation 5, because racing games are always they're great showcases for technology, graphical technology, and I think that it's something we're certainly going to see. And, I will give it a shot, honestly, because now that I'm a little bit more into racers, again, I don't know the difference really between Gran Turismo and Forza Horizon. Forza Horizon 4 is really the only racing game I have a lot of experience with, so maybe it would be a completely different experience for me, but either way, I'm going to be willing to try it out, and I'm going to be excited to see, how good the game's going to look, honestly, because I think that that's a big part with these racing games. But moving on from that, I want to take a quick second to let you guys know that apparently we have a little bit of confirmation regarding July's games, PlayStation Plus games. We know that PES 2019 was at the last second removed and replaced with Detroit Become Human, which a lot of people were very happy to hear. And people were speculating that this was Sony's decision, that this was Sony deciding at the last second that they need to do something to make their fans happier for whatever reason, or make PlayStation Plus look more valuable and just keep subscribers happier. And I can confirm that recently there was, I think, some individuals maybe at GameSpot or wherever that reached out to Konami to figure out if it was their decision at the last second. They just kind of pulled out and said, you know what, never mind. So Sony had to scramble. That's not the case. Turns out it was Sony's decision. Konami didn't have anything to do with it. Konami said that they were kind of like surprised that Sony decided to do this. So I just wanted to quickly let you guys know, for anybody who's wondering, that yeah, this was Sony's decision, and they still haven't confirmed the exact reason why, but again, it really does seem like it's because they're listening to feedback and they want to improve PlayStation Plus, and this is their this is their small way as of right now, showing that they are listening and they are trying to make some major improvements. So I just wanted to mention that as well. But moving on to the next topic, and this one I found pretty interesting as well, is that apparently Sony has expressed interest in an R-rated God of War movie. Says it seems conversations have already begun regarding the adaptation of Sony's games into movies. The platform holder recently established PlayStation Productions to do just that, and according to comicbook.com, film director and writer Stephen DeKnight is keen to take on God of War. Apparently, the Hollywood filmmaker has already had early talks about it with PlayStation. Somebody had asked me about video games, and I've always been a fan of God of War. I think the latest game was just so beautiful and phenomenal. I would love to tackle a God of War movie, or I would love to see somebody put that up on the big screen, DeKnight commented. As for who would play the main man Kratos, he nominates Dave Bautista. I had some early conversations with the good people at Sony PlayStation about it, and my biggest thing is, look, you gotta approach it like a book, he said. In his view, trying to recapture the game experience on the big screen is impossible. You have to take the game's core elements and make them work in the context of a movie, which sounds like the right approach. While he isn't down to produce a God of War movie right now, his early chats with PlayStation suggest the company is clearly thinking about it. It's funny because when I sat down with the Sony PlayStation people, one of the first things we both said is R-rated, because I always use the original Conan the Barbarian as my touchstone, that it needs to be R-rated, DeKnight said. I don't think there's a way to tell the story and make it PG, nor should it be. So this I found extremely interesting because it just goes to show that not only does Sony clearly have a big interest in doing more with God of War and actually trying to bring it to the big screen, just like we see with Uncharted and apparently The Last of Us. I don't know if that's still going to happen or not. But apparently they're going to try to do it maybe sooner than we thought, because we're just coming off of God of War 2018, and it's hard to say if this is something that could be good. A part of me just kind of gets excited at the thought of, man, seeing like a live action R-rated God of War honestly sounds pretty awesome, and it's really good to hear. It's not necessarily, an R rating automatically makes any movie cooler. Well, maybe in this case it does a little bit, because you look at God of War, you look at the level of violence and just the intensity that these games have. And yeah, it would be an absolute disaster if Sony thought that they could pull something like that off without an R rating. That would just be terrible, and I think people would just completely protest that. But it seems that Sony does have the right approach in two ways, where they are willing to make it R rated, which I think is important, because when you think about God of War, it kind of needs to be. And then the second part is that they understand that you can't just rip what the game does and just try to throw that on screen, because it's not going to work that way. Not only would it not make for a very interesting movie, because it's kind of, we've already seen this, we've already been there, we've already done that, people would know what to expect, but it just, anytime you see movies that try to do it that way, it just never really works out. So I think that this is, as long as they don't deviate too far and take too many liberties, if they want to do this, I think it could turn out to be really good. As for Dave Bautista being being Kratos, I think I could kind of see that. He definitely has the look for it, that big, buff, ripped, just massive type of, guy. And I think he certainly has the attitude as well. It's just hard to tell if somebody like Dave Bautista could really capture the essence of, Kratos' character. Maybe he certainly could. I'm trying to think off the top of my head of anybody else that I could think of, but it's nothing's really coming to me. So actually, I'll ask you guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Who do you think would be a good fit for Kratos if they were to make an R-rated movie? I will be interested to see what you guys have to say there. And it also makes me want to bring up this as well, where apparently the director of the Uncharted movie, which it is happening 100%, and it has a release date, I think, of holiday or sometime late 2020, I believe. And we know that Tom Holland was cast, and I think that came as a surprise to a lot of people, because he's younger, you know, so it made us realize that, well, apparently whatever we're going to be seeing from this Uncharted movie, it's going to follow a younger Nathan Drake. And it says that speaking to Games Radar, the director maps out what he does and does not want from the Uncharted movie story. I've been approached with different versions of this tale, he says, and I've always been not that interested in it because I didn't really want to trace the game. Imitation sounds less like the sincerest form of flattery and more like a quick-fire way to disappoint long-term fans of the action-adventure series, he continues. I didn't really feel like it was all that worthy of making a video game adaptation if we're just going to copy what the game is and just serve people a lesser experience than what they've experienced in such an incredible way. In fact, he believes if Naughty Dog so chose to make another Uncharted game featuring Nate and Sully, this movie's story is probably the story that they would want to tell. So if you weren't already confident in the Uncharted movie director's masterful handling of video game adaptation, you can already count 10 Cloverfield Lane and the Portal No Escape fan-made movie among his resume. His current mission statement should ease your fears. So, you know, sorry if I messed up the reading there a little bit, but basically, yeah, this is the director of the Uncharted movie pretty much saying, I think, what a lot of people want to hear, where it's like, we don't, at least I'm just speaking for myself, I'm assuming most people don't want to see the games just, you know, the story, the plot, everything else just ripped from the game and thrown right up on the screen, similar to what we were just talking about with this potential R-rated God of War movie, because it just wouldn't work that way. And hearing that he has this mindset that basically if they were to make another Uncharted game, he's kind of taking this vision and this approach where, like, this is the game that they would make. That actually sounds really cool. And, you know, it does sound like they're going to actually try their best to make this Uncharted movie the best it can be. And we really don't know as of right now how it's going to turn out. It's anybody's guess, but at least it sounds to me that the director has the right approach, and he certainly sounds like he has some respect for it, at least enough respect where he's not just, you know, trying to copy and paste something, so much so to the point where he wouldn't even consider directing it if that was how it was going to be. And, you know, you got to give the guy a little bit of credit for that, because I think that there's potential. And so I think that there's a lot of people who are eagerly awaiting to see, you know, whenever we get the first trailer of this movie, is it going to be a disaster, or is this actually maybe going to be one of the first really good video game movies? I think that there's a few others out there that people consider really good, but maybe this could be a video game movie that finally does, like, you know, justice to the source material. So we're going to have to wait, guys. I know that we actually spend a lot of time talking about movies in this video here, but I find it interesting. Like, it's clear that Sony has a great interest in trying to adapt their video games and their IPs into movies and shows, and so they have a lot of stuff to work with, and a lot of people are very attached to it, very close to it. We're going to have to see if it pans out, if it works out. I know I'm interested, but at this point I'm going to ask you guys, let me know your thoughts down below about Gran Turismo being ready for the PS5, and now apparently it's going to be the biggest and best Gran Turismo to date. Are you excited about that? Let me know about the potential R-rated God of War movie and the director of the Uncharted movie's approach. Let me know your thoughts down below. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that, guys. But until next time, take care.